Hello, my name is Sofia and this is the walkthrough to OSINT Exercise 029. On my website you can find a number of OSINT exercises to practice your skills. If you have not attempted to solve this one yet, you can find a link in the description and give it a go first. If you're here because you have completed, well done, you should be very proud. If you're here because you want to find out how to solve it, I hope you find this video useful, so welcome to OSINT Exercise 029. Task briefing. I took the photo below whilst riding a train in the UK. I always prefer quiet areas where no one can sit behind me, because in a public space, no information is truly private. Your task is to A. Uncover what the person in front of me was reading, B. Identify the train model, and C. Identify my seat number. I have marked this exercise level as the first and last tasks possibly hard for beginners, medium difficulty for experts. The middle one likely medium for beginners, easy for experts. In fact, I think the last one is not that hard in general, but relies on you having solved the second one, and that's why I chose these levels. We can click here to open the image on a new window, and it gets much bigger because we'll need all the help we can get. Okay, so first things first, you should never ever handle sensitive information in public if your plan is to keep it that way. Over the years, I have heard and seen way too much private information because people were not being careful. Basically, if it's within my line of sight, I'm reading it. Maybe I'm just a bit creepy, I don't know, entirely possible. I think this photo is probably good evidence of it. Because at some point I was riding a train in the UK, right? And I noticed someone in front of me holding an e-reader with some text. And then I thought to myself, I'm going to find out what you're reading. And that decision was purely based on two reasons. First, because I can, second, because I want to. And for the fun of it, so technically three reasons. So I did what any smart person would do in the same situation. I waited for a tunnel, so it was dark outside, and I took some good pictures. Because if I'm going to do something creepy, I'm going to do it well. And that is how I snapped this photo. I actually snapped several, but I felt this was the easiest one for you to have a play with. You know, I'm sometimes nice like that. I also want to clarify that this photo contains no sensitive information, otherwise I wouldn't have used it, of course. I have some standards, still low, but they do exist. Okay, so let's get this party started with the first task. What is the person reading? Look at that. I was kind enough to state that this was a train in the UK, so it's safe to assume the text will likely be in English. We can also try to profile the reader a bit, just for fun, because I like doing stuff like that. At first glance, it appears to be a woman. We can see the hair color. She was blonde, straight hair, decent length, at least past the shoulders. We can also see some volume at the top, likely a fringe. She was wearing a sleeveless top, appears to be black and white or blue and white with some frills here. Her right hand, because remember this is a reflection, was holding an e-reader, likely a Kindle. She had a big silvery bracelet on her right forearm. She had a decent tan, which contrasts with the platinum blonde hair. In front of her, we see that the folding table is down, and on top of it, there's at least two items. We have a smartphone here, and we have reading glasses here. The font of whatever she's reading is quite big, which both explains why she has reading glasses and why she does not feel the need to use them. All in all, we can imagine this person as a middle-aged woman, possibly within her late 40s, early 50s. This already gives us some idea of what she could possibly be reading. You'll all be relieved to know that it was not smut, which is good, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to use the photo for the exercise. I was still a bit disappointed though, I was hoping for something naughty. Anyway, let's focus on the photo. We know this is a reflection, therefore we have to flip the picture to look at the text, because at this point it looks like gibberish. So you'll need to save the photo. I already have it saved, so you just need to drag it here. There you go. And we're going to flip it horizontally. So I'm just going to click edit, flip horizontally, done. And let's now zoom and see the text again. Look at that, much better. When analyzing the font, you may notice it's very round, a lot of curves, and some letters are very similar to each other, like the A here and the O there. That won't stop us, of course, it just makes things a bit harder, which I enjoy, to be fair. Looking at the text, I hope you agree with me that some words are immediately very clear, like days or she has the. I will, however, assume you cannot read most of the rest and start from there, although again, I think some of it is quite obvious. We can try to improve the readability of the text by tweaking the image a bit. It's not necessary, but I want to show you how to do it anyway. So I'm going to take a screenshot of the text so we can edit it. So good enough, don't need this bit. Done. And now we're going to a website called photop.com, which I use for image editing all the time. It has an identical layout to Photoshop, so if you're old school like me and you learn image editing with Photoshop, this is the right tool for you. Otherwise, it's still very easy to learn anyway. Okay, so let's open the picture now by going File and Open. Here we go, we have it here. We're going to tweak the contrast a bit using two different options. First, we're going to Image, Adjustment and Levels, and we have a window in front of us. So we're going to pick up the black square and slide it until it reaches the histogram there, and we're going to do the same on the other side by grabbing the white square and move it again. Here we go. This is a very simple method to increase the contrast. If you select and unselect the preview, you can see the difference it made. Nothing grandiose, but there's some improvement. See? Now we're going to increase the contrast further with a different option, just so you can see both in action. So we're going to go to Image, Adjustment and Curves. Let me move the window here again. You see this line cutting across the histogram. We're going to click on it and we're going to drag it down. So this will darken the tones of the image and make the font stand out a bit more. If we click again on the preview, you can see the difference. Look at that, it's so much nicer. And that's it. Save it, done. And I'm going to increase this a bit more so I can take a nice screenshot again. I could just save it, but I like screenshots anyway. So here we go, done. And now let me bring the image. Here we go, it's in front of us. You know, in all honesty, I didn't do any of this when I was analyzing the text. I just stared at it and looked at the position of all pixels on specific characters for long enough until words became clear. But that would make a very boring video, so you get the VIP treatment with a small image editing tutorial. But I wasn't just randomly looking at the text. I was looking for specific things, and that's what we'll be doing now. And I'm hoping that increased contrast will make it clearer for you watching. Ultimately, in order to find what the lady was reading, we'll have to use keywords on a search engine, isn't it? But it cannot be any random keywords, otherwise we'll get far too many results. So we need to aim for two things. First, either a full or partial sentence to quote, and second, unusual words. Words like she or the are pointless. Every goddamn book in English will have them. We need something unusual, we need something special. So let's try and find them, shall we? So I'm actually going to put the unedited and the edited image side by side. Here we go. Although the one we just tweaked, this one here, looks better and easier to read, there's always a chance that the editing process led to image artifacts. These are visual distortions or errors. Our original image, this one here, was low quality, sorry about that. It contained a few imperfections due to having been taken inside a moving object, which was a train, through double glazed glass, and on top of that we also had to zoom in to read the text better. So when we edited it, we may have inadvertently exacerbated some imperfections which can lead towards looking different than what they are. And that, my friends, is the main reason why I will not be using Google Lens for this. I tested several times and it's a huge hit and miss. Sometimes it will identify some of the words correctly, but some other times, far too many, it will not. And in the process, it might trick your brain into thinking a word is something that is not. And once you get to that point, it's a lot harder to look at them objectively again. So let's work with just the text. We can do it. First, we need to focus on identifying at least one partial sentence and some unusual words, like I have said. In total, I used 4 words from this picture to find what the lady was reading. That's all it took, 4. I went straight for the longest one, which can be seen here. Let me get this thing so I can highlight it better. This one, this nice long word. I'm hoping you can immediately read what it says, but if not, we can also get there with some simple analysis. We need to start by identifying characters that are obvious, like the A. So here there's an A. Let me take this off. So we have an A here, and we can see a few other A's around. There's an A around here as well. And remember, this one says day, so we can see a few A's around. And remember how I said the font is very round? You can see the difference between the A here and the O. Let me pick a different color for the O. You can see a few O's. So this is an O, for example, and this is an O. And the O's are missing a tiny leg, whilst the A's have a tiny leg. There's a bit of pixel there. You can see much better on the last one there. Tiny, tiny leg. Look at that. You can barely see it, but it's there. Let's get this out. And now let's look at another character we have here, which is a U. So this is a U, which also here, there's an U, and also a U. So you can see this is clear U. There's missing stuff at the top. There you go. And now let's look at another vowel, which I'm going to pick the color yellow. It's probably not going to be a good one anyway. The E. So this is an E. And you can see now, remember we looked at the word the, so we know this is definitely an E. and there's an E there as well. And you can see how similar they are to each other. So this is an E. That means that this long word, this very long ass word, let me highlight again, this one ends in O, which is very unusual in English, isn't it? And we can go a step further and look at another letter. I'm going to pick black. Why not? Let's go black. I like goth. And this is a T, and we can see several T's. There's 2 T's in a row here. We have another T here, remember, on the D. So we can see, look at that, it is exactly the same character. So now we have reached 4 letters in a row that end this word, and it's a very long word. Let me remove this because we need to search for stuff. So what are we going to be searching for? We're going to search for English words ending in to. And what we have there, let me zoom this a bit, and look at that, the longest 11 letter word, portmanteau. It does end in to, and you can compare it with the image and you can see this is definitely the word portmanteau. We have the A-N-T-E-A-U, and you can even count the number of characters. So that's it, we found our first word. It's a very interesting word, isn't it? It's very unusual. Let me get the other picture again. Okay, so now we're going to move to the second unusual word, and we already have a few good letters because we identified several of them, didn't we? So now we're going to look at, let me bring this up again, going back to green. Why the hell not? We're going to look at this word here. We have the E, remember, we also have the U there. So we can see there's a U, there's definitely an L, look at that, that's very vertical, and there's an E. So it ends in U-L-E. We can also distinguish a C, this is very clearly C. So this ends in Q, which is quite interesting. But hopefully you'll remember that we were looking at the T. So let me look again at the T's. Remember we had 2 T's there, because I'm pretty sure this says the word better. We had a T there, and we can also see a T there. It's not great, but I can definitely see this is definitely a T. And because we have identified this word as better, I'm pretty sure, look at all the E's and the T's, this is definitely the word better. We can also identify that this letter at the end is an R. And do you see how it's so soft? It barely curves at the top. Remember, everything is just so round, and we can definitely see the same here at the beginning. It's not great, but you can see this like a little roundy thingy. Look at that. So all in all, we have a word with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters, start with an R, has a T, and ends in Q. So let's search for that as well. And we're going to put something like 8-carat word ending in Q. Brilliant. We have 2 of them that start with an R, reticule and ridicule. But remember, we know that this word will have a T in it. Therefore, the word we're looking for is reticule. And let's look at it again. It does say reticule. Reticule. Great. So we have 2 unusual words, portmanteau and reticule. They're definitely very unusual. So now we're going to look for our partial sentence. And at this point, I hope you have noticed that there is an apostrophe here. I don't even need to change colors, that's fine. There's an apostrophe here, look at that, and it's followed by an S, so apostrophe S. Afterwards, you can read the word cuz, which I'm pretty sure means cousin. So someone's cousin. Whose cousin? William's cousin. Williams. It does say Williams. Look at the capital W there at the top, followed by several vertical lines, which are 2 L's and the I's, and then ends in A. M. I wondered for a second if it was Wilson, but look at that character at the end. This one here. Now I do definitely need a different color. Let's go green again. Why the hell not? Right. There, this last letter. If this was Wilson, that would be an N, but we know this is definitely not an N because look at that. That is an N there, for example, and this is likely also an N. And this takes way more space. Look at that. That is a very long character. And you know where else is an M that we can compare? Here in portmanteau, there is an M. And I just realized I should have picked a different color because now the M's and the N's are the same color. So this is an M and this is an M and the other 2 are N's. So you see how much space this one takes when compared to the other ones. They're definitely different. So this says Williams, not Wilson's. And we know it's probably William's cousin. So let's use that, shall we? Let's take this again. Right, so what it means is that now we have 1 partial sentence, which is the Williams cousin. We have 2 unusual words, which is a portmanteau and reticule. So we need to put them all together in a search string. There are, of course, a lot more words you can pick from the text, but this is already enough. And these are actually the ones I originally used anyway. So we're going to Google something like portmanteau, reticule, William's cousin, and let's go. And I'm going to zoom out just so you can see the results. Too much. Okay, here we go. So we have too many results, and we're not going to go through all of them. It's way too much. We're going to work smart, and we're going to click the option of books, because there's a very high chance the lady is reading an ebook, isn't it? It could be a magazine, it could be a personal letter, it could be a contract, but it's likely a book. So let's click on it. For whatever reason, whenever I do this, Google decides to remove any special characters. So the apostrophe and the quotation marks are gone. So we're going to put them again. Anyway, and we got one result, which we had already seen, but now it's just one. So it's clearly the correct one. Here we go. The Fair Botanist is a perfect match. We can click the link. We can read a bit of it. Let's do this. Let me bring the picture again so we can just compare slightly. Here we go. Portmanteau, and then a long shrill whistle sounds on deck. And you can see here something whistle sounds on deck. She has the letters from William's cousin James in her reticule. There we go. William's cousin James in the reticule. Brilliant. We have done it. First task complete. The person in front of me on the train was reading The Fair Botanist. I hope she enjoyed it. Now, the second task, let me go back to the exercise question. The second task says identify the train model. So now let's focus on the rest of the image and forget about the book for a bit. And I'm going to bring it back again, and I'm going to flip it again so it's the original picture how I took it. Right, so we can see that the back of the seats were gray and the front was covered in red upholstery. Look at this. So red here, red there, and the back is definitely gray. And there's a gentleman here, for example, in the reflection. We can see him. He's sitting on a red seat. He's facing us, which will be important later. The seats have a folding table. Remember, we saw that. On them, we can discern a little area for a cup. We can also spot here at the top some medium-sized luggage placed on the overhead compartment. The back of the seat contains a red sticker with some information and a QR code. To me, all these things combined lead me to believe we might be looking at a long-distance train. With that in mind, let's find the train model. I would like to point out that although I marked this task as medium difficulty for beginners, it's actually quite easy. However, I fear most will go for an image reverse search and may get stuck sifting through endless results, turning an easy task into a harder one. Of course, search engine algorithms change and adapt to provide better results, which has happened in previous exercises, so it's possible you'll get the correct result immediately. But let's not bank on it and work smart instead. We know that we're looking for a train in the UK with this layout, so let's just use some basic keywords and search for it. And we just need to use things like train UK, and we put train UK interior. Here we go. And we're going to click the images because I want to look at pictures. Let's scan a bit. Okay, so at first glance, there are two good options. Let's open both of them. So you can see, first thing, this is not going to be the correct ones, because look at how the seats are. They kind of get narrow at the top, don't they? And if you look at this picture, not this one, they're definitely not narrow. They're kind of like very squarish, well, rectangle looking, aren't they? So let's go back to this one. This is a very good result, isn't it? Let me bring the picture again. I'm going to put it here at the side. Brilliant. And I'm going to put this one at the side. And nope. There you go. Done. Okay, let's analyze it. So we have similar shaped seats. We have the red upholstery. We have the folding table available. Look at that. You can see a tiny bit here. You can see the overhead luggage space. There's a division here, which we can also partially see here, it seems. There's some sort of lighting system. So you can see some lights there, which can also be seen here. They are on. And then we have 2 rows of lights on the ceiling. Look at that. 1 row, 2 rows, exactly the same. And we also have a partial sticker visible here. Look at that. Right at the back of the seat, like we have here. Brilliant. So I think we have our match. We can just click and see what is this train, shall we? Let me zoom out. This is too big. Oh my god, I cannot read. Okay, so let's just say down, LNER Azuma train. Here we go. This is it. Specifically the standard class. Here you go. Standard class seats on an Azuma, and this is the first class seats on an Azuma. So they are different. So this is the standard with the red upholstery. So assuming this is correct, I was traveling in standard class like a goddamn peasant. we can quickly verify we actually got the correct train model by googling something like LNER Azuma train standard interior, checking the pictures, and look at that, so many of them. We can see how some of the seats have stickers on their back, some do not. It's likely that some of the photos were older than others, and if you google something like, let's get another one, LNER Azuma train sticker QR code, remember, because there was a QR code, is going to lead us to the frequently asked questions page, which we can click and check it out. And it does ask what is the QR code at my seat, and it explains it's about the let's eat at your seat offering in standard class, because peasants like me need to actually use this instead of just getting it handed to them. Okay, so at this point we have enough reason to believe we found the correct train model. It was the LNER Azuma. Now for the third and final task, where was I sitting? So I gave two very nice clues on the task briefing. First, I like quiet areas, and second, I don't like having people sat behind me for obvious reasons. Assuming I didn't just book the seat behind me to stop people from sitting there because, I'm not made of money, it's very likely that I chose a seat at the end of a coach where no one could sit behind me. But let's look at the LNER Azuma train layout first. And since we're already at the LNER website, let's explore it a bit, shall we? There's our trains here. We can click on it, hoping to find information about the Azuma train. There's nothing there. However, we can see something very interesting. It says quiet coach. Very nice. Let's click on it. And suddenly I already spotted the word Azuma. It's all coming together, isn't it? Okay, it reads, you will find the quieter zone in coach H on our brand new Azuma trains. Brilliant. That sounds like my kind of place. So let's find more about the Azuma. If you scroll a tiny bit more here, you'll see it has a link to the Azuma seat map. And because we need to see where on earth I was sitting, let's click on it. And let me zoom in because I can read better if it's zoom in. Brilliant. Okay. So it says here, quieter coach. Our 9 coach Azuma trains have a quieter coach situated in coach H. Please note there is no quieter coach on Azuma 5 and 10 coach trains. That means I was very likely traveling on a 9 coach Azuma train with a coach H because I would have been sitting on the quieter one. So let's Google this, coach H. This one is the 5 and 10 when we already know this one is not a quieter one. So let's keep going. Here we go. The standard, again, peasant. Anyway, so this is where I would have been traveling on the standard coach H 9 coach Azuma train. So at this point there are a few options. Knowing I don't like people sitting behind me and knowing I was sitting next to a window when I took that photo, I was either on seat 3, 6, 83 or 86. If you look at the original image again, look at that, this one, you'll see that the window was on my right. Therefore, that excludes seat 3 and seat 86 because you can see how the little arrow points towards the direction of the seat. So this was facing this way, this was facing this way, which means that the window would have been on the left. Here we go. So now we have two good options, either number 6 or number 83. Where was I sitting? So how can we tell them apart? Let's look at the seats in front of them, shall we? Let me zoom in even more so we can see this better. Don't need this bit. Go away. Even more. Wow. Right, so on seat 6, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seats in front of me facing the same way before we get to a table. And then we have one facing the opposite way, followed by 1, 2, 3, 4 facing again the same way I'm facing. And this is very different on the other side of the train. Look at that. Starting from the seat 83, there are only 1, 2, 3 seats facing the same way before you get to a table. And then you have 1, 2, 3 facing the opposite direction, followed by again another one facing my direction and another table. So let's quickly look at our exercise 029 photo again. Shall we? Bring it on again. And we're going to pay attention to the reflection at the top. In fact, I'm going to flip this because we're going to look at this gentleman here. He is facing us, isn't he? And on top of that, he has 2 other seats behind him also facing us. There's a bit of a gap in front of him, so it's likely he was sat in front of a table. Otherwise, we would have seen another seat more or less here if they are equal distance from each other. So if we go back to the coach layout, we can see how within this row, the first time in which we would have at least 3 consecutive seats facing the opposite direction of ours would be on seats 57, 62, and 66. That would not have been visible on this reflection as it would have been way too much. You wouldn't be able to see that on the reflection. On the other hand, look at this side of the train. We have again 1, 2, 3 seats a table, 1, 2, 3 seats facing us, which would match this gentleman here, 1, 2, 3, a table. So he would have been sat here on 67, and that means I would have been sat here on number 83. I had no one behind me. I was on the quiet coach H of the 9 coach LNER Zoomer train with the lady in front of me on seat 79 reading The Fair Botanists. I hope you enjoyed the challenges. I had a great time on this one. Have an amazing week.